In Dragon Ball Super's Universe Survival arc, the Tournament of Power is well underway, with our main characters of Universe 7 on the cusp of victory or defeat. However, one question arises that many are not considering because of prior knowledge, and that is, what if Universe 7 actually loses in the Tournament of Power? Well, today, we're going to be talking about that. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out. Alright guys, so today we are going to be breaking down what we think will happen if Universe 7 doesn't actually win in the Tournament of Power. Who do we think actually would be able to overcome and defeat our main characters, and what the aftermath of them losing and I guess possibly being erased would really come down to. And to help me today is the master of what ifs himself, Detective Q.
Alrighty guys, it is Kwame here today, also known as Detective Q. And Mike, I must say I appreciate you by calling me by my new display name, even though I have no problem with the name Kwame.
Yeah, but I like the name Detective Q, so I want to say it as much as possible. So, Detective Q, what do you think will happen if Universe 7 is all eliminated and they lose in the Tournament of Power?
Well, the funny thing about this discussion, Mike, is that when you think about it, because we know how Z ended, we know that they're gonna get out of this somehow. However, if Universe 7 were to lose, I think that would make the actual plot more interesting, because we know for sure that they're gonna do something alternate to keep staying alive in the Tournament of Power. And I think what this really suggests to me is that if Universe 7 were to lose, I think somehow or some way the other universes would either convince Zeno not to erase Universe 7, or there'll be like an actual revolt and rebellion against the angels and Zeno himself. Now, how successful can that be? We're yet to know. How well could Zeno actually, hold off that rebellion? I'm sure it would be easy, considering he wiped out an entire universe in the blink of an eye. So I don't know how they would oppose Zeno, but it would be the only way unless they find a way to convince him.
What do you think about the fact that Zeno is friends with Goku, or at least the current timeline Zeno and Goku are actually, friendly with one another? Do you think that he's going to take any sort of mercy on Goku? Do you think maybe when he's about to erase him, he'll think, but wait a second, Goku is my friend. I don't want to erase him. Do you think that that's a possibility? And do you think if that happens, it might be some sort of contention between the future and the present Zenos?
Mike, I didn't think about that until right now, but that's actually a great point, because you're saying that the Zenos could possibly have a conflict where the present Zeno doesn't want to wipe out Goku and his friends, but the future Zeno, because he doesn't have the same relationship with him, he doesn't care, and both of them are going to contrast. The question is, though, if both Zenos were to clash about wiping out Universe 7, to what degree would the Grand Priest have a say in all of this? Because it seems like he is the one who sides more so with, obviously, the universes being wiped out. So it seems to me like that would create a lot of good tension, because you have one Zeno versus the Grand Priest and future Zeno, and then you have all of the angels who could also be split or all in unison on the Grand Priest and all this. So to me, Mike, this really possibly sets up how this whole Tournament of Power could possibly go if Universe 7 were to lose. So to me, that's really interesting. But what do you think about Grand Priest?
I feel like maybe he has enough influence when it comes to speaking to the Zenos to where he may be able to put off any kind of real battle between the two, or any kind of real disagreement to any large degree, because if both of them are really omnipotent, to the highest extent of the word, which we haven't really necessarily seen proven yet, then a battle between the two of them would likely easily destroy all of existence. So, there's the question of, can he stop the two of them if that were to go down? Can he say, well, not today, guys? Or can he say, this is just a minor argument, we have to keep our promises, and if you think, maybe we could do something afterward and bring Goku back or something, then that's up to you. But another question, of course, arises is if Zeno can actually bring something back from the dead that he has destroyed or erased. Can he actually create as much as he can erase?
Right, and just to talk more so about what you're saying, though, based off of how fast Zeno was able to wipe out Universe 9, all of what we're saying would have to take place in a very short point in time, because it's not like it takes Zeno any effort effort to wipe out a universe. I mean, we saw him wipe out Zamasu, who was transcending different timelines in an entire universe in like the matter of a few seconds. So I think that would be really crazy when it pertains to Zeno. However, the interesting thing about all of this though is how would the other universes actually interfere in all of this? And the reason I bring this up is because the other universes have been shown, especially through their God of Destruction and their Supreme Kai, to have a lot of animosity towards Universe 7, and a lot of this has been shown with Universe 9 already, as they all ganged up on Universe 7. And as we see the Tournament of Power progressing from episodes after, a lot of the characters seem to always be aiming for Universe 7. So in my opinion, do you think the other universes would actually stick up for Universe 7, or do you think they just let him be erased? Because I don't think they'd care based off of how much propaganda has been brought up.
I feel like at this point, it's probably going to be really like everybody for themselves, you know, because like everyone at this point knows that if they don't win, they're going to be erased from existence, and their universe, all their friends, all their family, and themselves are going to cease to exist. They're going to be in a state very much worse than death itself. So I feel like at that point, it's going to be like, well, it's better them than us, you know. A lot of them must know that Goku is the whole reason why they still exist, or the whole reason why they're even being given a chance to exist in the future, but at the same time they still don't really seem to have fully comprehended that idea, and they still seem to really be going after Universe 7 for, you know, putting this whole thing together. But when you really think about it, you know, the Zenos were looking for an excuse to erase the universes anyway, and on top of that, like, you know, the other universes seem to have a lot of nefarious people in them, you know, like Universe 4, for example, I believe, is the one with the Mouse God Destruction, who seem to be, colluding with the gods of Universe 9, but at the same time, like, both of them were already really against Universe 7 from the get-go. However, the fact is that Universe 9 was the one that actually proposed that if Bergamo were to win in the Zen exhibition match, all the other universes would be spared. So the fact that they were the first ones to really go and be erased really, you know, probably incentivized the other universes to kind of act out against not only Universe 7 for starting everything, but, you know, maybe Zeno, because one thing I do kind of question is, what if all the universes just said, enough, we're not going to fight anymore? Do you think that the Zenos would just automatically erase both of them? And if not, you know, what happens if they just stand there and then the time runs out? You know, like, would everyone be erased? Would all their universes be spared? What exactly would happen if they just decided to go against the rules of the tournament?
You know, it's really interesting you're saying all of this, Mike, because I thought about an alternate scenario as we were having this conversation, which makes it even more interesting. What if you have surviving fighters in the Tournament of Power and everybody's just left over? Will it follow the rules of basketball where you have like an overtime and the last man standing, or will like all the remaining people just have their universes spared? To me, this is a really interesting concept because I thought about it here. The fact that the Tournament of Power has a time limit means that they want to spare multiple people, because if there was no time limit, then virtually every single universe would lose. But because there is a time limit, that can mean that there could be some type of alteration in the rule. And this leads me into talking about Universe 11 now. If there was a situation where there were multiple fighters left from different universes, and Universe 11 is, we're assuming, is probably going to be like one of those lead universes, how do you think that can play into this? And do you think Goku and Jiren and all of the other guys would kind of have like a changing at heart and saying, guys, why are we doing this? Like, really? Like, this is really bad what we're doing here. We're fighting to literally kill each other and get our own universes eliminated. And I think all of that could potentially go in towards them rebelling against the others. So really, Mike, this whole time limit thing has a big role in this. And to answer your question about Zeno, I think that for individual universes, they would be erased on the spot. But now Super's probably going to split up who gets erased so that it's more divided.
Yeah, the whole thing though is like, if they really do want to try and rebel, like, they're up against such almost insurmountable odds, because it's not just going to be the Zenos, it's also going to be Daishinkan, it's also going to be his children, the angels, probably, you know, it's also going to be some of the gods of destruction. You know, I could see the gods of destruction maybe participating because, you know, just like all the mortals that are fighting fighting for them, they're going to be erased too, so are the Kaioshin. So ultimately, they're pretty much as mortal in this case as the mortals that are fighting for them. So it makes me wonder if maybe they would join in, but, is the power difference between the gods and the angels and then the Great Priest and the Zenos just so different and so massive that there's literally nothing they can do? Or maybe they're going to try and push the idea that these people teaming together somehow have some sort of chance of overthrowing the establishment.
Right, and I think that you also brought up a good point there, Mike, because now when you think about it, the gods of destruction can have a say in this too, because remember, they're all fighting and getting eliminated too, so if the gods and the supreme guys say, alright, enough is enough, we can't do all of this, now that might actually sway things differently. And, before we close this video out, Mike, I think one thing that I thought about before, and I want to add to this video, is dealing with Gowasu. Now, Gowasu is from Universe 10, so if Universe 10 were to get erased, that would mean Gowasu would be gone. And to me, I felt like that was a little too dark of an ending, because Gowasu was saved in the previous arc, so it's like we went through all this trouble of saving Gowasu so that he would just be erased in the Tournament of Power. It just seems like, wow. So we saved the universe to get the universe erased even more. And to me, like, I felt like that. I'm like, all these other fighters like Khalifa and Kill, I'm like, they're not gonna get rid of all these characters. There's no way. So to me, if Universe 7 loses, my final take on this is that I think there's no possible way that everybody can all get erased. Like, it's too dark of a scenario for Dragon Ball. Future Trunks is already bad enough.
I do think it would be pretty funny and a big troll ending if Universe 7 does lose and they get erased and that's just the end of Dragon Ball Super. It just completely retcons the end of Z, but we know that's not going to happen. They probably want to still even have arcs after this. So if Universe 7 loses and somebody just eliminates them, they're going to be brought back somehow in some way. Whether Zeno brings it back, whether it's the Super Dragon Balls, or some other thing we just haven't even heard about yet. I'm sure we're going to figure it out. Alright, so let us know your own thoughts down below in the comments section about what you think would happen if Universe 7 loses in the Tournament of Power. Of course, check out Detective Q down below in the description as well as in the end screen. As I always say, stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Of course, I wouldn't be erased, but I could erase everybody in the universes just by flexing my perks.